The morning air on Kepler 442c smelled like rust and rain. Dr. Hana Kim stepped out of the research station, her boots crunching on the red soil. She carried her scanner in one hand and a water bottle in the other. Today was supposed to be simple. Check the air quality, take some soil samples, and return by lunch. The mining colony had been peaceful for 6 months. The humans worked their shifts, extracted valuable minerals, and sent regular reports back to Earth. Nobody expected visitors, especially not the kind that arrived that morning. Hana was kneeling next to a strange purple plant when the ground started shaking. She looked up and saw them. 3 massive ships descended from the cloudy sky. They were black and angular, like giant arrows pointing down at the colony. The ships landed with heavy thuds that made her teeth rattle. "Hana, get back here now." The voice crackled through her radio. It was Minho Park, the security officer. He sounded scared. She ran toward the colony buildings. Other workers were doing the same. Everyone was pointing at the ships and talking fast. Some people looked excited, others looked worried. Hana felt both. The alien ships opened with loud hissing sounds. Ramps came down, and the visitors walked out. Hana stopped running and stared. She had studied alien species for years, but seeing them in person was different. They looked like giant cats, but they walked on 2 legs like humans. Their bodies were covered in dark scales that changed color in the light. Blue and green patterns flowed across their skin like living tattoos. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The biggest alien stepped forward. He wore armor made of metal and bone. Scars covered his arms and face. When he opened his mouth, Hana saw teeth, like white daggers, but his eyes were intelligent. They reminded her of her old professor, wise and careful. "I am Diho," the alien said in broken English. His voice was deep and rough. "We come to talk trade. Your people mine metals. We need metals for ships." Behind, Diho stood a female alien. She was smaller but moved with deadly grace. Her scales were lighter, silver mixed with gold. 3 small aliens hid behind her legs. They looked like cubs, but their eyes already held the sharpness of predators. Colony Administrator Changmin Yu stepped forward. His hands were raised to show he meant no harm. "Welcome to our colony. I am Changmin. We are happy to discuss trade with your people." Everything seemed fine. The aliens spoke slowly but clearly. They wanted iron and copper. The humans had plenty to spare. It should have been simple, but Minho Park was watching from behind a shipping container. His hand rested on his weapon. He had fought in the border wars and trusted no one. When the female alien reached toward her belt, Minho saw a threat. "Gun!" he shouted. The female alien was only reaching for a data pad, but Minho's shout made everyone panic. Security guards raised their weapons, the aliens tensed like springs ready to snap. "Wait!" Hana yelled, but it was too late. The female alien moved to protect her cubs. Minho thought she was attacking. He fired his plasma rifle. The blue bolt hit her in the chest and she fell. Everything exploded into chaos. The adult aliens roared with voices like thunder. They moved faster than anything that big should move. Claws flashed in the morning light. More shots fired. Aliens and humans fell together. Hana ran toward the fighting, but someone grabbed her arm. It was Woo-Sung Lee, the mining supervisor. "Stay back. It's too dangerous." The battle lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. When the shooting stopped, bodies lay scattered across the red dirt. The big alien, Diho, knelt beside the fallen female. His roar of grief made the air shake. The other aliens gathered their dead. They spoke in their own language, words that sounded like breaking stone, but they left 3 small shapes behind. The cubs. "Why aren't they taking the children?" Hana asked. An old alien with white scales answered in broken English. "Blood spilled by treachery makes ground forbidden. Cubs touched by poison death. Cannot return to clean ships." The alien ships lifted off, leaving the cubs behind. The little ones cried with sounds that cut through Hana's heart. They crawled toward their dead mother, but she would never move again. "What do we do with them?" Woo-Sung asked. Security Chief Kyung kicked at the dirt. "Nothing. Let nature take its course. They're predators. They'll grow up to hunt us. But Hana was already walking toward the cubs. The smallest one looked up at her with golden eyes full of pain. He was bleeding from a cut on his arm. All 3 cubs were hurt and confused. "They're just children," she said softly. "Children with claws and fangs," Kyung replied. "Children that will grow into killing machines." Hana knelt beside the smallest cub. He didn't run away. Instead, he made a soft sound, almost like a human baby crying. The other 2 cubs, both slightly bigger, watched her carefully. They were scared, but not aggressive. Their mother called them Jisoo, Bora, and Taemin, Hana said, remembering the alien words she had heard during the fighting. "How do you know that?" Woo-sung asked. "I've been studying their language from our intercepts. Basic words, at least." Hana reached out slowly. The smallest cub, Taemin, didn't pull away when she touched his wounded arm. "Hana, get away from those things," Kyung ordered. She looked up at the security chief. "These things just watched their mother die. They're alone and hurt and probably starving. I'm a doctor. I took an oath to help." "Your oath was to help humans. My oath was to help anyone who needs it." The cubs huddled together as the humans argued above them. They didn't understand the words, but they understood the anger. Taemin crawled closer to Hana. His small hand touched her boot. In that moment, everything changed. Hana felt a connection she couldn't explain. These weren't monsters. They were children who needed help. And somehow she knew that helping them might be the most important thing she would ever do. The other humans walked away, still arguing about what to do. But Hana stayed with the cubs as the alien sun set behind the mountains. She didn't know yet that saving them would require sacrificing her own blood. She only knew that she couldn't leave them to die alone. 3 days passed since the shooting. The 3 alien cubs grew weaker each day. Hana tried everything she knew to help them. She gave them water, human food, and medicine. Nothing worked. The cubs lay in the medical bay, breathing slowly. Their beautiful scales had turned gray. Taemin, the smallest one, could barely lift his head. Jisoo and Bora stayed close to him, but they were dying too. "They need their natural food," Hana told Dr. Ji-hoon Nam, the colony's medical officer. "But I don't know what they eat." Ji-hoon shook his head. "We've tried everything. Meat, vegetables, even the protein bars. They won't eat any of it." Outside the medical bay, the other colonists were arguing. Hana could hear their voices through the thin walls. "We should put them out of their misery," Kyung said. "It's cruel to let them suffer." "They're aliens," agreed engineer Seung-ho Choi. "We don't owe them anything, especially after they attacked us." "We attacked them first," communications officer Yoon Ji-seo reminded them. "Minho started the shooting." "Doesn't matter now," Woo-sung Lee said. "The cubs are dying anyway. Best thing is to let it happen quietly." Hana pressed her hands against her ears. She couldn't listen anymore. These people saw only monsters, but she saw children. Hurt, scared, lonely children. She turned back to the cubs. Taemin's breathing was so weak, she could barely see his chest moving. His golden eyes looked at her with trust that broke her heart. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't know how to save you." That's when her computer beeped. New data had arrived from the research station on Earth. Files about alien biology translated just that morning. Hana opened the files and started reading. The Vorthak were hunters. Their cubs needed special enzymes that came from fresh prey. The enzymes helped them digest food and grow strong. Without these enzymes, the cubs would starve even with plenty of food around them. "Fresh prey," Hana said aloud. "They need the enzymes from animals they hunt themselves. But there were no animals on this planet that the cubs could hunt, and they were too weak to hunt anyway." Hana read more, looking for other sources of these enzymes. Her heart stopped when she found the answer. The enzymes the cubs needed were similar to proteins found in human blood. Not exactly the same, but close enough. The computer estimated a 60% compatibility rate. Hana stared at the screen. Human blood could save them. Her blood could save them. She looked at the cubs again. Taman had closed his eyes. His breathing was getting slower. He might not live through the night. "Computer, how much blood would be needed?" she asked. The answer made her stomach cold. Each cub would need at least 200 milliliters every day. That was 600 milliliters total, more than a pint, of blood, every single day. A healthy human could donate that much blood maybe once a week. Every day would be dangerous. After a few days, it could be deadly. But the cubs would die without it. Hana heard footsteps behind her. Dr. Jihoon walked into the medical bay, carrying more useless medicines. "Any change?" he asked. "Jihoon, I found something." She showed him the computer screen. Human blood might work as a substitute for the enzymes they need. Jihoon read the data carefully. His face grew pale. "Hana, no, this is too dangerous. You could die." "They will die if I don't try." "They might die anyway. The compatibility isn't perfect, and the blood loss would weaken you severely." Hana looked at the cubs again. Taman was so still she thought he might already be gone. But then his chest moved just a little. "I have to try," she said. "The others won't let you. Kyung will lock you up before he lets you risk your life for aliens. Then we don't tell them. Not yet." Jihoon shook his head. "I won't help you kill yourself. I'm not asking you to help. I'm telling you what I'm going to do." She was already moving toward the medical supplies. Blood bags, tubes, needles. Everything she needed was right there. "Hana, please think about this." "I have thought about it." She filled a syringe with nutrients and vitamins. "If I don't try, they die for certain. If I do try, maybe they live. Maybe I live too. It's better odds than they have now." She sat down next to Taman's bed and rolled up her sleeve. The needle went into her arm easily. Dark red blood flowed into the bag. "How will you even give it? To them?" Jihoon asked. "Through feeding tubes, mixed with liquid nutrients. Their stomachs should be able to process it." The blood bag filled slowly. Hana felt a little dizzy, but she had given blood before. This wasn't much different. Except, this time, everything depended on it. When the bag was full, she mixed the blood with liquid nutrients and vitamins. The mixture looked strange, but it might work. "Which one first?" Jihoon asked. He had decided to help even though he thought it was crazy. "Taman. He's the weakest." They inserted a feeding tube into the small cub's stomach. The blood mixture dripped down the tube slowly. Taman didn't react at first, then his eyelids fluttered. "Did you see that?" Hana asked. "Maybe. Could be nothing." They waited. Minutes passed like hours. Then Taman's eyes opened. Not much, but enough to see the golden color. He looked at Hana and made a soft sound. "It's working," she whispered. They gave blood to Jisoo and Bora next. Both cubs showed small signs of improvement. Their breathing got stronger. Their scales showed tiny hints of color. "This is just the beginning," Jihoon warned. "They'll need more blood tomorrow and the day after that for weeks, maybe months." Hana touched Taman's small hand. His fingers wrapped around hers weakly. "Then that's what they'll get. The others will try to stop you. Let them try." Outside, the other colonists continued arguing about what to do with the dying aliens. They didn't know that inside the medical bay, one human woman had decided to save 3 alien children with her own blood. And she didn't know yet that this decision would change everything between humans and aliens forever. But as she watched, the cubs sleep peacefully for the first time in days, she knew she had made the right choice. Whatever happened next, these children would have a chance to live. 2 weeks had passed since Hana started giving her blood to the cubs. Every morning she sat in the medical bay while Dr. Jihoon drew blood from her arm. Every afternoon she felt dizzy and tired, but every day the cubs grew stronger. The change was amazing. Their scales had returned to their beautiful colors. Blue and green patterns flowed across Jisoo's skin like moving water. Bora's silver scales caught the light and sparkled. Little Taman's golden markings glowed brighter each day. But the most amazing change wasn't in their bodies. It was in their behavior. At first, the cubs had been afraid of all humans except Hana. When anyone else entered the medical bay, they would huddle together and show their small claws. But slowly, they began to trust the others too. Dr. Ji-hoon was the first to win them over. He brought them toys made from spare metal parts. The cubs played with these toys for hours, batting them around with their paws and chasing them across the floor. "They're just like kittens," Ji-hoon said, watching Taemin pounce on a rolling ball. "Kittens with very sharp teeth," Hana replied, but she was smiling. The cubs had learned some human words. Hana was the first word Taemin said clearly. Then hungry and play and thank you. Jisoo was the smartest. She could already count to 10 in English. Bora loved music and would purr when anyone hummed a tune, but Taemin remained closest to Hana. He followed her everywhere she went. When she sat down, he curled up next to her. When she worked at her computer, he watched the screen with curious eyes. At night, he refused to sleep unless she was nearby. "He thinks you're his mother," Ji-hoon observed. "I'm not his mother. I'm just helping." "Try telling him that." The other colonists slowly began to accept the cubs' presence. Yoonji Seo taught them simple games. Engineer Seong Ho Choi made them better toys. Even Woo-sung Lee brought them treats, though he still kept his distance. Only Kyung remained hostile. "They're getting too comfortable," he complained. "Soon they'll be big enough to hurt someone." "They would never hurt us," Hana said. "We saved them. Wild animals don't think like that. Gratitude doesn't exist in nature." But Kyung was wrong. The cubs understood exactly who had saved them. When strangers visited the colony, the cubs stayed close to their human friends. They seemed to know who was safe and who might be dangerous. Then came the day that changed everything. Yoonji Seo was working in the communications room when her equipment picked up a signal. Ships were approaching the planet. Big ships. "Hana, you need to see this," Yoonji called over the radio. Hana hurried to the communications room with the 3 cubs following behind her. They always followed her now, like a small parade. The main screen showed space around the planet. 3 massive ships hung in the darkness like metal moons. They were much bigger than the ships that had brought the cubs. "Those are Vorthak warships," Yoonji said. "A whole fleet. What do they want?" "I'm getting a transmission now." The screen flickered and showed an alien face. It was similar to the cubs, but older and more scarred. When this alien spoke, his voice was like grinding stone. "Humans of the mining colony, I am War Chief Gangsu. We come for our lost children." Behind him stood other adult Vorthak. Their scales were dark with anger. Some carried weapons that looked like they could cut through steel. "Our sensors show 3 cubs still live on your planet," Gangsu continued. "Return them to us immediately or face the consequences." Yoonji looked at Hana. "What do we tell them?" Before Hana could answer, little Taemin stepped forward. He had been listening to the transmission and his golden eyes were wide with fear. "No, go back," he said in his broken English. "Stay with Soft Mother." "Soft Mother?" Yoonji asked. Jisoo, who spoke the best English, explained. "Hana is Soft Mother. She feeds us with her lifeblood. We are her cubs now." The alien on the screen heard this. His scarred face grew darker with rage. "The cubs speak human words. You have poisoned their minds with your weakness. This is an insult to their bloodline." "We saved their lives," Yoonji replied into the communicator. "They were dying when you left them. Better to die with honor than live with shame. You will return them now or we will take them by force." The transmission ended. The room fell silent except for the quiet humming of computers. "What does this mean?" Hana asked. "It means we have a problem," Yoonji said. "Those ships have enough firepower to destroy our entire colony." The cubs had understood most of the conversation. They huddled together, making soft, whimpering sounds. Taemin climbed into Hana's lap and buried his face against her shoulder. "No leave, Soft Mother," he whispered. "Please, no leave." Hana held him tight. She felt the other colonists gathering behind her. Kyung was there, and Woo-sung and Dr. Ji-hoon, all of them looking at her with questions in their eyes. "We can't fight a Vorthak fleet," Kyung said. "We have to give them back." "Look at them," Hana replied. "They're terrified. These children think of us as family now." They're not children, Kyung insisted. They're aliens, and their people want them back. Their people abandoned them to die. Their people are pointing weapons at us right now. Jisoo stepped forward and spoke in her clear, careful English. We are not the same cubs who were left behind. We have learned human ways. We choose human family. You don't get to choose, Kyung said. You're going back to your people. But as he reached toward Jisoo, all three cubs moved to protect each other. They didn't show claws or teeth. Instead, they formed a circle around Hana, just like they had seen humans do when protecting someone. See? Hana said quietly. They've learned to think like us, to protect instead of attack, to choose love over fear. Dr. Jihoon touched her shoulder. Hana, your blood tests came back today. You can't keep giving blood much longer. Your iron levels are dangerously low. Then we'll find another way to feed them. There is no other way, and you know it. Outside, the alien ships moved closer to the planet. Soon they would demand an answer. Return the cubs, or face destruction. But inside the medical bay, 3 small aliens held tight to their human family. They had tasted love and kindness. They had learned that strength could be gentle, that power could be used to protect instead of harm, and they were not going to give that up without a fight. What do we do? Yoonji asked. Hana looked down at Taemin, still clinging to her shirt. She thought about all the blood she had given, all the nights she had stayed awake watching over them, all the small moments of joy as they learned and grew. We do what families do, she said. We protect each other. The alien ships continued. Their approach and time was running out. But in that moment, Hana made a decision that would either save 3 small lives or doom an entire colony. She chose love over fear, just like she had taught the cubs to do. The alien ships landed with thunderous crashes that shook the entire colony. Hana watched from the medical bay window as hundreds of Vorthak warriors emerged. They were bigger than the first group, more heavily armed and clearly angry. They want the cubs back now? Yoonji said, reading the latest transmission. War Chief Gangsu says we have 1 hour to hand them over. The 3 cubs pressed closer to Hana. They could sense the tension in the air. Taemin was shaking, not from cold but from fear. We don't belong to them anymore, Jisoo said in her careful English. We belong to Soft Mother now. That's not how it works, Kyung replied. He had been trying to convince Hana to give up the cubs all morning. You're their species. You have to go back to your people. My people left us to die, Bora said quietly. She rarely spoke, but when she did, everyone listened. Human people saved us, fed us, loved us. Which people are really ours? Dr. Soo-Young Kwan had arrived from the research station that morning. She was an expert in alien cultures and had been studying the Vorthak for years. The cubs are right, she said. In Vorthak culture, cubs belong to whoever feeds them. It's called blood bonding. Since Hana has been feeding them with her blood, they are legally her children now. That's ridiculous, Kyung said. It's their law, not ours. But it creates a problem. The adult Vorthak can't acknowledge that a human saved their cubs. It would mean admitting that humans are not prey animals. It would destroy their entire worldview. Hana felt a headache building behind her eyes. She was tired all the time now. The constant blood donations were wearing her down. Dr. Jihoon had warned her that she couldn't continue much longer. So what do they want, she asked. They want to take the cubs back and pretend none of this happened, Dr. Kwan explained. But the cubs won't cooperate. They've bonded with you too strongly. Then what's the solution? There isn't one. Not a normal one anyway. Colony Administrator Changmin Yu burst into the medical bay. His face was red with stress and anger. Hana, this has gone too far. The aliens are threatening to destroy the colony if we don't return their cubs in 30 minutes. We can't just hand them over, Hana protested. Yes, we can. And we will. Changmin looked at the cubs who were watching, him with their large, intelligent eyes. I'm sorry, but I have 300 human lives to protect. I won't sacrifice them for 3 alien children. These alien children trust us. We saved their lives, and now they're going to get us all killed. Dr. Kwan stepped forward. Wait. There might be another way. It's dangerous, but it could work. Everyone looked at her. In Vorthak culture, blood-bonded cubs can choose to follow their substitute parent anywhere, even to other worlds. If Hana went with them to the Vorthak homeworld, the cubs would be returned to their people, but they would still have their bond with her. Absolutely not, Changmin said immediately. It's the only solution that satisfies both sides, Dr. Kwan continued. The Vorthak get their cubs back. The cubs get to stay with their chosen mother. Everyone wins. Except Hana, who would be trapped on an alien world full of predators. Hana looked down at the cubs. Taemin was holding her hand with his small fingers. Jisoo and Bora were pressed against her side, seeking comfort. They're not predators, she said quietly. Not anymore. They've learned to be something different. They're still aliens, Kyung argued. And so are the adults waiting outside. You'd be surrounded by creatures that see humans as food. Maybe. Or maybe this is a chance to change how they see us. Dr. Jihoon shook his head. Hana, you're not thinking clearly. The blood loss is affecting your judgment. You need rest and proper nutrition, not a trip to an alien world. The cubs need me more than I need rest. The cubs will adapt. Children are resilient. These children watched their mother die. They were abandoned by their own people. I'm the only stable thing in their lives. I won't abandon them too. Commander Hyunwoo arrived with a squad of security officers. He had been monitoring the alien ships and looked worried. They're powering up their weapons, he reported. If we don't give them an answer soon, they'll start shooting. Changmin turned to Hana. That's it. I'm ordering you to hand over the cubs. This colony will not be destroyed because of your misguided compassion. No, Hana said simply. That's not a request, it's an order. Then arrest me, but I won't give them up willingly. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at Hana, surprised by her defiance. She had always been quiet and polite. Nobody expected her to rebel against direct orders. Taemin tugged on her shirt. Soft mother sad? He asked in his baby voice. No, little one, soft mother is just thinking. Dr. Kwan moved closer. Hana, if you're serious about going with them, we need to contact the Vorthak now. The offer has to come from you directly, or they won't believe it. You're encouraging this madness? Changmin demanded. I'm trying to save lives. All lives. Human and Vorthak. Hana made her decision. She walked to the communications console and opened a channel to the alien ships. War Chief Gangsu, this is Dr. Hana Kim. I wish to speak with you. The screen flickered and showed the scarred alien leader. His eyes were cold with anger. Human female. You will return our cubs immediately. The cubs are blood bonded to me according to your laws. I fed them with my own blood to keep them alive. They are my children now. Gangsu's eyes widened slightly. He had not expected a human to understand Vorthak law. You speak truth, he admitted. But this creates impossible situation. Cubs cannot be raised by prey species. Then I propose a solution. I will come with the cubs to your homeworld. They can be raised among their people, but I will remain as their blood mother. The alien leader was silent for a long moment. Other Vorthak gathered behind him, speaking in their harsh language. You would leave your people forever? Gangsu asked. To protect my children, yes. This has never been done before. Many things that have never been done before become possible when we choose love over fear. Behind her, Changmin was shouting orders. Security officers were moving to stop her. But the cubs surrounded Hana protectively. They might have been small, but their claws were sharp enough to make the humans hesitate. We go together, Jisoo declared. Soft mother and cubs. Family. Gangsu stared at the screen for a long time. Finally, he spoke. 1 hour. Prepare for departure. But know this, human female. If you betray our trust, if you harm our cubs in any way, your death will be slow and painful. I understand, Hana replied. And I accept. The transmission ended. The room erupted in arguments and protests. But Hana knelt down and hugged the 3 cubs close. Are you ready for an adventure? She asked them. Adventure with soft mother, Taemin said happily. Best adventure ever. As Hana packed her few belongings, she tried not to think about what she was leaving behind. Her job, her friends, her entire species. But when she looked at the cubs, she knew she was making the right choice. Sometimes love required impossible sacrifices, and sometimes those sacrifices led to impossible miracles. The journey to the Vorthak homeworld took 3 weeks. Hana spent those weeks in a small cabin aboard the alien ship, caring for the cubs and trying to learn about their culture. The ship was nothing like human vessels. Everything was made of dark metal and bone. The corridors were wide enough for the large Vorthak warriors, but the ceilings were low. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing with soft blue light. The cubs were excited to be traveling, but they never left Hana's side. They slept in her bed, ate their meals with her, and followed her around the ship like baby ducks following their mother. "Tell me about your home," Hana asked Jisoo one day. The smart cub had become her translator for the more complex Vorthak concepts. "Home is difficult to explain in human words," Jisoo said. "It is place where the strong survive and the weak do not, where honor matters more than life." That sounds scary. It was scary before, but now we have soft mother. You make everything less scary. The adult Vorthak avoided Hana as much as possible. They brought her food and water, but they never spoke to her directly. She could feel their eyes watching her whenever she moved. Through the ship. Dr. Soo-young Kwon had given her a crash course in Vorthak culture before departure. The aliens valued strength above all else. They believed that life was a constant battle, and only the strongest deserved to survive. Showing. Weakness was worse than death. They don't understand compassion, Dr. Kwon had explained. To them, helping the weak makes you weak too. Your actions have confused them deeply. War Chief Gangsu finally spoke to Hana directly on the 15th day of the journey. He found her in the ship's observation deck, watching stars drift past, while the cubs played nearby. "Human female," he said in his broken English. "We must talk." Hana stood up respectfully. Gangsu was massive, even by Vorthak standards. His scales were almost black, and his scars told stories of countless battles. "What do you wish to discuss, War Chief?" "Cubs. They are different now. Changed." "How do you mean?" Gangsu gestured to where Taemin was sharing his food with Bora, even though he was still hungry himself. Among humans, this was normal kindness. Among Vorthak, it was revolutionary. Before, cubs would fight for food, take what they could. Now they share. They help weak ones instead of leaving them behind. Is that bad? It is. Confusing. Sharing makes group weak. But cubs seem stronger together, not weaker. Hana watched. The cubs playing a game where they all won or all lost together. It was the human way of playing. Very different from Vorthak competition. "Maybe there are different kinds of strength," she suggested. "Explain." "Individual strength can overcome many problems, but group strength can overcome bigger problems. When everyone helps everyone, the whole group becomes stronger than any individual." Gangsu considered this. "This is human thinking." "One type of human thinking, yes. And you believe this thinking can work for Vorthak?" "I believe these cubs can teach your people a new way to be strong." The war chief was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke again. "Elders will not like this. They will say cubs are poisoned by human weakness." "What do you say?" "I say, I have watched cubs during journey. They are not weak. They are different. Maybe different can be good." That night, little Taemin became sick, not from disease but from stress. The approaching homeworld frightened him. He had nightmares about being separated from Hana. "No leave. Soft mother," he cried, clinging to her in the dark cabin. "Promise no leave." "I'll stay with you as long as I can," Hana promised, but she didn't know if that would be long enough. Dr. Jahoon had given her vitamin injections before departure, but she was still weak from weeks of blood donations. The ship's medical scanner showed dangerous low levels of iron and other nutrients. She was running on determination alone. Jisoo and Bora took turns caring for both Hana and Taemin. The older cubs had matured quickly during the journey. They understood that their family was in danger. "What happens when we reach home?" Bora asked. "One evening, I don't know," Hana admitted. "But whatever happens, we'll face it together." "Together," Jisoo agreed. "Always together." On the 20th day, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. They had reached the Vorthak homeworld. Hana pressed her face to the observation window and gasped. The planet below was beautiful and terrible. Red ocean stretched between dark continents. Strange cities rose like black thorns from the landscape, and everywhere she could see the lights of countless ships moving between the planet and its 3 moons. "Home," Taemin whispered, but he didn't sound happy about it. War Chief Gangsu came to escort them to the shuttle bay. His expression was grim. "Human female, you must understand. What happens next will determine fate of many. Cubs will be tested by High Council. If they pass tests, they will be welcomed home. If they fail..." "What kind of tests?" "Strength tests. Combat tests. Tests to prove they are still truly Vorthak." Hana felt cold fear grip her heart. "They're just children. They are Vorthak cubs from royal bloodlines. They must prove their worth or face exile. And what about me? You are unprecedented. Council has never dealt with human before. Some want to kill you immediately. Others want to study you. I have convinced them to wait and see what cubs choose." "What do you mean?" "If cubs reject you and embrace Vorthak ways, you will be allowed to leave, safely. If cubs choose you over their heritage..." He didn't finish the sentence, but his meaning was clear. The shuttle ride to the planet's surface was the longest 20 minutes of Hana's life. The cubs sensed her fear and pressed close to her. They were scared too, but they were trying to be brave. "Remember," she told them, "no matter what happens, you are good children. You are loved. Nothing can change that." "We remember," Jisoo said. "And we love Soft Mother too." The shuttle landed with a heavy thud. Through the small windows, Hana could see hundreds of adult Vorthak waiting for them. They formed a corridor leading to a massive building that looked like it was carved from a single piece of black stone. "The Hall of Judgment," Gangsu explained, "where the High Council meets." The shuttle doors opened and Hana stepped out onto an alien world. The air was thicker than Earth's and it smelled like metal and spices. The gravity was stronger too, making each step an effort. But the hardest thing was the silence. Hundreds of Vorthak warriors watched them walk past and none of them made a sound. Their eyes followed every movement, judging, evaluating, waiting. The cubs walked beside Hana with their heads held high. They were frightened, but they didn't show it. They had learned courage from her, just as she had learned it from them. At the entrance to the Hall of Judgment, an ancient Vorthak waited for them. Her scales were white with age and her eyes held the wisdom of centuries. "I am Elder Hagen," she said in perfect English. "I will oversee the testing of the cubs." "And what will be tested?" Hana asked. "Everything," the elder replied. "Their strength, their loyalty, their fitness to survive, and most importantly their choice between human weakness and Vorthak strength." She looked down at the cubs, who had moved to stand protectively around Hana. "The testing begins now," Elder Hagen announced. "Let us see what these children have truly learned." The Hall of Judgment was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness above and the walls were covered with carvings of ancient Vorthak heroes. Hundreds of adult Vorthak filled the chamber, their scales glowing in the dim light. At the center of the hall stood a raised platform. Elder Hagen led Hana and the cubs to this platform, where they were surrounded by 12 of the oldest and most powerful Vorthak leaders. This was the High Council. "Cubs of the royal bloodlines," Elder Hagen announced, her voice echoing through the hall. "You have returned to us changed. We must determine if you are still worthy of your heritage." The 3 cubs stood close together, but they no longer hid behind Hana. The journey had made them braver. They faced the council with steady eyes. "First test," Elder Hagen continued. "Strength." A young Vorthak warrior stepped onto the platform. He was bigger than the cubs, but still young enough to make the fight somewhat fair. In his hands, he carried practice weapons made of dull metal. "Choose your strongest cub," the elder commanded. "Let them prove their worth in combat." Hana's heart raced. The cubs had learned to play and share, not fight. How could they possibly win a combat test? But Jisoo stepped forward calmly. "I will fight." The young warrior handed her a practice sword. It was heavy, made for adult Vorthak, but Jisoo lifted it with determination. "Begin," Elder Hagen said. The warrior attacked immediately. He was fast and skilled, clearly trained from birth for combat. But Jisoo surprised everyone. Instead of meeting his attack head-on, she dodged and rolled, using her smaller size as an advantage. The crowd murmured. This was not traditional Vorthak fighting style. The warrior swung again, trying to overpower her with strength. But Jisoo was already moving, staying just out of reach. She had learned patience from Hana and strategy from human games. Then, when the warrior overextended himself, Jisoo struck, not with killing force, but with precise timing. Her blade touched his throat gently, just enough to show she could have. "One." "Enough," Elder Hagen called. The crowd was silent. Jisoo had won, but not in the Vorthak way. She had used intelligence instead of brute force. "Second test," the elder announced. "Loyalty." A different council member stood up. War Master Junsu was known for his harsh judgment. His scales were dark gray, almost black, and his eyes held no warmth. "Cubs, you must choose," he said. "Return to your people and embrace our ways, or remain loyal to this human female. You cannot have both." Hana felt her heart breaking. This was the moment she had feared. The cubs would have to choose between their heritage and their love for her. Taemin, the smallest cub, stepped forward first. His voice was clear and strong despite his young age. "We choose both," he said. The crowd gasped. This was not one of the options. "Explain," War Master Junsu demanded. Jisoo spoke for all three cubs. "Soft Mother taught us that strength and kindness can exist together, that protecting others makes us stronger, not weaker. We are still Vorthak, but we are also something new." "New is not always better," Junsu replied coldly. "Maybe not," Bora said quietly. "But new is what we are. We cannot go back to being the cubs who were left to die. That version of us is gone." Elder Hagen studied the cubs carefully. "And what of your human mother? What role does she play in this new identity?" Taemin looked up at Hana with his golden eyes full of love. "Soft Mother bleeds for us as we would bleed for Pack. She is Pack. She is family." The words hit the council like a physical blow. In Vorthak culture, calling someone Pack was the highest honor. It meant they were willing to die for each other. This human female is not Vorthak. War Master Junsu protested. "She cannot be Pack." "Why not?" Jisoo asked. "She fed us when we were starving. She protected us when we were afraid. She gave up her own people to stay with us. If those are not the actions of Pack, what are?" The cubs moved to stand around Hana, just as they had done countless times before. But this time, it was different. They weren't hiding behind her. They were protecting her. "Third test," Elder Hagen announced, but her voice was uncertain now. "Survival instinct," she gestured, and several warriors brought out a cage containing a small wounded animal. It was clearly dying, weak and helpless. "Kill it," War Master Junsu commanded. "Prove you still have the instinct to destroy the weak." The cubs looked at the dying animal. In the old Vorthak way, they would have killed it without hesitation. Weakness deserved no mercy. But these cubs had been taught differently. Jisoo opened the cage and gently lifted the wounded animal. Instead of killing it, she examined its injuries with the same care she had watched Hana use. "This animal is hurt, not weak," she said. "Hurt can be healed." Working together, the three cubs bandaged the animal's wounds using strips torn from their own clothing. They gave it water and spoke to it in soft voices until it calmed down. The Hall of Judgment fell completely silent. Every Vorthak in the chamber stared at the cubs in amazement. This was behavior they had never seen before, Elder Hagen stepped forward. Her ancient eyes were wide with wonder. In 3,000 years of Vorthak history, she said slowly, never have cubs chosen healing over killing. Never have they shown mercy to the weak. Is that bad? Taman asked innocently. I do not know, the elder admitted. It is so unprecedented that we have no rules for it. War Master Junsu was furious. They have failed every test. They fight. With tricks instead of strength, they choose outsiders over their own kind. They heal instead of kill. These are not Vorthak cubs. You are right, Jisoo said calmly. We are not traditional Vorthak cubs. We are something new. Something that came from mixing Vorthak heritage with human love. And we are proud of what we have become, Bora added. The High Council began arguing among themselves in the Vorthak language. Their voices grew louder and more heated. Some wanted to exile the cubs. Others wanted to study them. A few seemed intrigued by what they had witnessed. Elder Hagen raised her hand for silence. As the oldest member of the council, her word carried great weight. These cubs have indeed failed our traditional tests, she said. But perhaps our tests are no longer adequate. Perhaps it is time for new tests. Tests that measure not just strength, but wisdom. Not just the ability to destroy, but the ability to create. She looked at Hana with new respect. Human female, you have done something impossible. You have taught Vorthak cubs to value life over death, cooperation over competition, love over fear. In doing so, you may have given us a gift beyond measure. What gift? War Master Junsu demanded. The gift of growth, of becoming more than we were before. Elder Hagen turned to face the entire assembly. I propose that these cubs be given a new title, not traditional Vorthak warriors, but something unprecedented. Bridge builders, healers, guardians of a new way. The crowd murmured with excitement and uncertainty. And I propose, the elder continued, that their blood mother be granted honorary Vorthak status. She has earned the right to stay with her pack. War Master Junsu stepped forward angrily. This violates every tradition we hold sacred. Then perhaps it is time for new traditions, Elder Hagen replied calmly. Growth requires change. Change requires courage. These cubs have shown us what courage looks like. The vote of the High Council was close, but in the end, wisdom won over tradition. The cubs were accepted as a new kind of Vorthak. Hana was granted status as an honorary pack member, and most importantly, the family stayed together. Years passed. The cubs grew into young adults who served as ambassadors between humans and Vorthak. They established trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and even joint exploration missions. Jisoo became the first Vorthak to graduate from a human university. Bora created art that combined both cultures. And Taman, the smallest cub who had once been dying in Hana's arms, became a healer who saved lives throughout the galaxy. Hana remained with them as their teacher, guide, and mother. She had sacrificed her blood to save them, but in return, they had given her a new purpose. She had become the bridge between two species, proving that love could overcome any difference. And on quiet evenings, when the three of them curled up next to her just like they had as cubs, Hana knew she had made the right choice. Sometimes the greatest strength came not from standing alone, but from choosing to be part of something bigger than yourself. The predator's cubs had been starving, and the human had nourished them with her own blood. But in saving them, she had also saved both their species from a future of endless conflict. Love, it turned out, was the strongest force in the universe.